When the dust rolls across the plains and the sound of horse hooves fades into the memory of the land, stories remain. Stories of men who carried burdens heavier than their rifles and women whose courage could quiet a storm. Welcome back to Frontier Echoes, where the heartbeat of the Old West still echoes through every tale. Today's story is one carved from hardship, pride, and unexpected devotion. So saddle up and settle in. This is a tale about a struggling farmer and the Apache woman who looked him straight in the eye and said words he never expected to hear, "You are the man I choose for my future." The sun had barely risen over the dry fields when Daniel Harper stepped out of his small wooden cabin. His land stretched far and wide, but most of it was nothing but tired soil begging for rain. Daniel was a man worn thin. Not old by years, only 30, but old by the way life had tugged at him without mercy. His wife had died from fever 3 winters ago, leaving him alone with a farm that was sinking faster than he could save it. Since then he had carried on the way lonely men do. Quietly. Firmly. Without expecting anything from the world except another sunrise and another battle. This morning was no different. He hitched his mare and dragged the plow into the field, knowing the dry earth would fight him every inch. As the blade dug into the dirt he muttered to himself, as he often did, reminding himself that he needed to plant by next week or risk losing another season. If the crops failed again, he would have to abandon this place like so many others had done. But Daniel Harper was stubborn. The kind of stubborn that grows out of grief and pride. By midday sweat ran down his neck and his arms trembled with exhaustion. He paused to wipe his forehead when he heard a rustle near the edge of the field. He dropped his plow handle and reached for the rifle leaning on the fence post. Out here strangers could mean anything. Trouble. Bandits. Desperation. Instead he saw a woman. Apache. Alone and unarmed. She stepped from behind the mesquite brush with slow, deliberate calm. Her long dark hair was tied back with leather string and her eyes were sharp but not threatening. She carried a small bundle under her arm, wrapped in woven cloth. Daniel didn't lower the rifle. She lifted her hand in a peaceful gesture. "I do not come for harm." Daniel's grip loosened just a little. "What do you want out here?" She did not answer immediately. Instead she walked toward him until she stood a few yards away, close enough for Daniel to see the scars on her knuckles and the faint lines of worry crossing her face. "My name is Taya," she said. "I come because I need help." Daniel almost laughed, not out of rudeness, but because help was the one thing he had nothing left to give. He rested the rifle against the post. "Everybody needs help around here," he said. "But I don't have much to offer." The woman studied his fields, his plow, his sweat-soaked shirt, the tired look in his eyes. "You have land. You have hands that work. You have good heart. That is much. More than many men." Daniel wasn't sure how to respond. Compliments were not something he received often. The last time someone had called him good-hearted, his wife had still been alive. Taya approached and unwrapped the bundle she carried. Inside was a small handmade tool carved from bone, decorated with beads. "This is for harvest," she said. "It belonged to my mother. I give it to you." Daniel frowned. "Why? You can't just give something like that to a stranger." "You are not a stranger," she said. "Not now." Her calm certainty unsettled him more than any threat could have. Daniel shifted uncomfortably, clearing his throat. "Look, I appreciate the gesture, but I don't know you. And I'm not doing well enough to be helping others." Then she looked him in the eye with a firmness that stopped him cold. "I did not come only for help. I came because I choose you." Daniel blinked, confused. "Choose me?" "Yes. I choose you for my future." For a moment his mind went blank. The dry wind moved through the field, lifting dust around them. He wasn't sure if he had heard her correctly. "Choose me for what?" "For life. For home. For husband." Daniel nearly stepped back. He didn't know whether to laugh, argue, or run. "You don't even know me," he said. "I know enough. You work hard. You stand alone. You carry sadness but not anger. I see a man who would protect, who would build. My tribe has scattered. My family is gone. I want a future. And I see my future with you." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck, his heart pounding in confusion. "Lady, I think you've mistaken me for someone stronger than I am. I'm barely holding myself together." Taya's voice softened. "A man does not need to be unbroken to be chosen. He only needs to be honest." He didn't know what to say. This was the last thing he expected to happen today. He wasn't used to being wanted. Not by anyone. Not since his wife died. Before he could reply, a sound echoed from the distance. Horses. Fast. Heavy. Daniel's eyes sharpened. Riders, and not friendly ones. Taya turned her head slightly. She already knew. "They followed me," she said. "They want to take me or trade me. They think I am alone." Daniel didn't hesitate this time. "Stay behind me." 3 riders emerged from the ridge, dust swirling behind their horses. They wore mismatched gear, rough leather, guns strapped across their backs. Their eyes lit up when they spotted Taya. "Well, look what we have here," one of them called out. The Apache girl ran farther than we thought. Daniel stepped forward. "This isn't your land," he said. "And she isn't yours." The leader grinned. "Farmer boy, you really want to make this your problem?" Daniel didn't blink. "She came to my land. She's under my protection." The men exchanged glances. One of them stepped off his horse, hand resting on his revolver. "Then we take her with or without your blessing." Daniel moved faster than he thought he could. He grabbed the rifle and fired once, the bullet kicking up dirt inches from the man's boot. "I don't give warnings twice." A tense silence followed. The men weighed their options. Finally the leader spat onto the ground. "Not worth the trouble. Let's ride." They turned their horses and disappeared over the ridge. Daniel lowered the rifle slowly. His hands trembled, but he didn't show it. Taya stepped beside him. "You put yourself in danger for me. You came here asking for help," he said simply. "I wasn't about to let them take you." She regarded him with a steady gaze. "My choice was right." Daniel exhaled deeply, overwhelmed by the day's chaos. "Come inside," he finally said. "You look like you haven't eaten in days." Inside the small cabin Daniel cooked what little food he had while Taya sat quietly, studying the room. She noticed the small carved wooden figure on the shelf. A woman's figure. Daniel saw her looking and nodded. "My wife carved that. Before she passed." Taya didn't touch it. But she spoke softly. "You loved her very much." "Yes," he said. "I still do in some way." "Love does not disappear," Taya replied. "It changes shape." After dinner she helped him fetch water, repair the shed door and gather wood. She didn't ask for rest. She didn't ask for protection. She simply worked beside him, step for step, as though she had lived there for years. By the time night settled over the plains, Daniel felt a strange ease around her. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. It was something quieter. Something like trust forming from the dust. Later they sat outside beneath the stars. The night was clear, cold, and alive with sound. Coyotes howled in the distance. Crickets filled the silence. Taya spoke first. "In my tribe, choosing a man is not done lightly. I would not say such words if I did not mean them." Daniel looked at his calloused hands. "I ain't sure I can be what you expect." "I expect only truth, safety and a life built together," she said. Nothing more. He shook his head gently. But what if I fail? What if this farm fails again? Then we fail together, she said. And we rise together. Daniel stared at her in the moonlight. She was brave. Fierce. Softer than she appeared but stronger than most men he knew. And she believed in him without even knowing him fully. Something he hadn't felt in years. Still, he needed time. This is all too sudden, he said. Taya nodded. I will stay until you decide. I do not run anymore. And she didn't. For the next days Taya remained on the farm, working beside Daniel from sunrise to sunset. She was skilled with soil and plants. She knew how to conserve water, how to use shade and wind, how to choose seeds that could survive harsh land. In 1 week she did more for the farm than Daniel had done in a year. They laughed occasionally. They argued sometimes. But every day the distance between them grew smaller. The house felt less empty. The meals felt warmer. The silence felt peaceful instead of lonely. One evening Daniel found her repairing one of the broken fences. He approached her slowly. Taya, he said, the words heavy in his chest. I've been thinking. She looked up at him. You asked if I would accept being the man you choose. And I think I've been afraid. Not of you. But of losing something again. Taya stood and wiped the dust from her hands. You do not lose when you share life. You only lose when you close your heart. Daniel felt something shift inside him. A door opening. A weight lifting. I can't promise a perfect life, he said. I can't promise easy days. But if you'll have me, then yes. I'll be the man you choose. And I choose you too. Taya stepped closer, her eyes softening with relief and certainty. Then we build our future here. The wind blew gently across the field as if blessing their union. The sun dipped low, casting golden light on the land they would now tend together. From that day forward the farm changed. The soil grew richer. The crop stronger. Daniel was no longer a man fighting his battles alone. And Taya was no longer a woman wandering without a home. They built something together. Something rooted. Something brave. Something chosen. And people in the nearby town began to whisper about the farmer and the Apache woman who transformed a dying piece of land into a thriving home. Some judged. Some admired. Most were curious. But Daniel and Taya didn't care for talk. Their life was not built on rumors. It was built on sweat, promise and a choice made under the western sun. Years later Daniel would look at his fields, at the home they built, at the life that grew from a moment of chance, and he would remember the first thing Taya ever said to him. You are the man I choose for my future. And he would smile, because those words changed everything. And they stayed true. This has been Frontier Echoes. If you want more stories carved from the grit, the heart and the hidden truths of the Old West, stay close. There are more voices on the wind, and more tales waiting to be told. Until next time, ride steady and let the frontier speak to you.